So Ontario is heating up again. Bill C60 just passed. We have people getting kicked out of chambers, protesters yelling, and we have the Premier Doug Ford telling people to simply just get a job. Well, if you know me, I'm not here to pass any judgments or take sides, simply here to dissect the issue and understand why tenants are at an arms about this new bill. So how does this impact tenants? So from my understanding, there's 3 changes that are coming. So the first one is going to be that now for a non-payment issue, landlords no longer have to wait 14 days before starting eviction proceedings. That has now been reduced to just 7 days. The second change is that in an event that a landlord wants to reclaim possession of their unit for their own use or their family's use, typically they would have needed to give, I believe, 60 days notice with 1 month compensation. Well, now, if they give up to 120 days notice, they no longer have to compensate the tenants. And lastly, tenants will now be required to pay 50% of the rent arrears to be able to raise issues like Section 82 issues due to maintenance issues or harassment issues. They would need to now make at least 50% of the rent arrears to be able to make a case during a landlord's application. So these are the 3 ways that this bill is affecting tenants. And I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Any landlords, any tenants in Ontario, what is your take on this? Because I know on the one side we have landlords that believe that like, oh, professional tenants, and this is a good news. And then we also have some tenants on the other side, right, that they've never missed a rent payment before, and they're wondering, why are we losing some of our rights?
From his seat, the Premier yelled back for that demonstrator to get a job.
It's totally unbecoming of the office of the Premier.
The man on the receiving end agrees.
Doug Ford hasn't had to go looking for a job in a while. He has no clue the difficulties that people are facing.
The legislature in such a state of chaos, security ordered the public out on a bill that skipped committee hearings.
People's voices do need to be heard.
Worried more renters will lose their homes.
Well, I heard it in the House today for sure, but I don't agree with it because we're creating balance in the landlord-tenant system.
The bill shortens the grace period for a tenant who missed rent before they can be evicted.
We're talking about big property managers who are getting rich off of these schemes, and they're the ones who are going to profit.
But small-scale landlords insist they need help.
I've had landlords call me crying because of a tenant that has not only did not pay rent for months and knows how to avoid the eviction, they also damaged the property.
Opposition parties say this bill does nothing to solve serious problems between landlords and tenants.
All it does is it points the finger at every single renter and tenant, of whom the vast majority are acting in good faith.
Frustration and fear that exploded into the open.
I understand why people are upset, because they're desperate, because they can't afford to live in Doug Ford's Ontario.
Yeah, so what do you guys have to say about this one, right? Like, from my understanding, like, there's gonna be no improvement in the LTV wait times. If you know, then you know that it takes upwards of like 6 months to a year to be able to evict a non-paying tenant. So they're not talking about how they're going to address that to begin with. So we already have backlog of up to 50,000 cases at the LTB right now. So I don't know how this bill is going to address that. Also, it looks like the tenant still has a right to a hearing, right? So you're not able to just evict somebody in Ontario just because you feel like it. You need to have a legitimate reason. It has to be either a non-payment or owner's use, or something along those lines, right? So I don't see how this is going to create homelessness for the vast majority of tenants, because from my experience, most tenants just want to pay their rent, pay their bills, and get on with their lives. So a tenant such as that shouldn't have any problems, right? Shouldn't have any problems with housing, in my opinion. So I don't really know what this does, to be honest. I don't even see the point of this. That's my own 2 cents. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think this is going to help with the housing shortage here in Ontario? Well, I'm not in Ontario, I'm in Quebec, but in Ontario. Let's talk about it down in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And until next time, peace.